Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Riza Khofifah. I'm a student from Universitas Panca, Sakti, Bekasi. Today, I'm going to present one of the material from curriculum and material development. This presentation is submitted to fulfill my final examination test. The topic that I was going to explain is about the teacher as self-observer, self-monitoring in teacher development. So without further ado, let's get started the presentation. The classroom practice of language teachers are interest to many different people such as administrators, supervisors, students, and researchers. But those with the greatest interest in knowing what teachers do in classroom are teachers themselves. All teachers want to know what kind of teacher they are and how well they are doing. A supervisor evaluations and students' grades are a way of assessing this, but a more direct source of information for teachers is a regular observation of their own teaching. Self-monitoring, it refers to a systematic approach to the observation, evaluation, and management of one's own behavior. Self-monitoring refers to the teacher making a record of lesson, either in the form of written account or an audio or video recording of lesson, and using the information obtained as source of feedback on his or her teaching. There are several good reasons for the use of self-monitoring by teachers. The first one, time. For most teachers, the amount of time they spend in professional training is relatively short in comparison to the length of their teaching careers. But teacher training programs should mark the beginning, not the end of professional development. In order to improve performance over time, however, teachers need feedback on what they do and how well they do it. Self-monitoring is a means of obtaining such a feedback, and its hence is a key ingredient in teachers' continuing growth and development as professionals. Second, reflection. Self-monitoring enables teachers to move from a level where they may be guided largely by impulse, intuition, or routine to a level where their actions are guided by reflection and critical thinking. Third, self-monitoring can help narrow the gap between teachers' imagined view of their own teaching and reality. Self-monitoring can hence help teachers better understand their own instructional process. Fourth, self-monitoring shifts the responsibility for initiating improvement in teaching practice from the outsider. It enables teachers to arrive at their own judgment as to what works and what doesn't work in their classroom. What can be learned from self-monitoring? Joseph Left categorized 4 types of information about teacher behavior. First one, the open self. It is information about teacher's behavior that is known to teacher and to others. The second one, the secret self. It is information known to the teacher but not to others. For example, a teacher might be experiencing difficulty in implementing a new set of course guidelines, but is unwilling to share this uneasiness with colleagues in case they judge him or her to be incompetent. The third one, the blind self. It is information known to others, but not to the teacher. For example, a teacher may unknowingly reinforce a certain sexual stereotypes without realizing it, even though this is recognized both by students and colleagues. The fourth one, the hidden self. It is information about teacher behavior that is unknown to both teacher and to others within the school environment. For example, neither the teacher nor others in the school may understand why the teacher is achieving less than expected result with a set of new materials. Through self-monitoring, the teacher seeks to find out what the critical factors are that could explain the problem. There are 3 major approaches available to self-monitoring in teaching. Through the first one, personal reflection, self-reporting, and audio or video recording of a lesson. The first one is personal reflection. The simplest approach to self-monitoring is through the use of diary or journal in which the teacher makes an honest and open report of what happened in a lesson. For example, I made more grammatical mistakes than I should have. My directions were not clear, and some of the students did not understand the exercise. There are several advantages to reflecting on one teaching through a diary record in this way. A diary allows a person to explore information and thoughts that might not be accessible in other ways, and then analyze them later and understand the meaning of teaching experiences, clarify thought or feeling, and help to improve teaching philosophy. The second approach is self-reporting. It involves completing an inventory or checklist in which the teacher indicates which teaching practice were used with lesson or within a specific time period, how often they were employed. The inventory may be completed individually or in a group session. The reliability of teachers' self-report might be pressured to be low, but it can be increased by using self-reporting inventories that focus on a specific instructional practice. Self-reporting allows teachers to make a regular assessment of what they are doing in classroom. A teacher could use self-reporting to find out the kind of teaching activities being used, whether all of the program goals are being addressed, the degree to which personal goals are being met, the kind of activities that seem to work well or not. The third one, recording lesson. Advantages of recording lesson are more reliable record than self-report, capture the teaching process on a moment-to-moment basis, aspect of lesson that cannot be recalled, and even that were not observed. The simplest way of recording a lesson is to place a tape recorder where it can capture the exchange that occurred in class. With the microphone placed on the teacher's table, much of the teacher language can be recorded as well as the exchange of many of the students in the class. Recommend recording for 1 or 2 week period and then randomly selecting one cassette for closer analysis. A 30-minute recording usually provides more sufficient data for analysis. The goal is to capture as much of the information of class as possible, both teacher to class and student to student. Once the initial novelty wears off, both student and teacher accept the presence of technician with the camera and the class proceeds with minimum disruption. What to look for in a lesson? Many aspects of classroom life can be examined when reviewing diary entries, self-report, or recording of lessons. One set of behavior relates to the teacher of handling of classroom management, teacher-student interaction, grouping, structuring, tasks, and teacher resources. They will vary according to whether the teacher is teaching listening, speaking, reading, or writing, and what aspect of each skill are being taught at what level. Example, speaking, classroom interaction, opportunity of speaking communication. Guideline for self-monitoring. In order to apply self-monitoring technique effectively, the following guidelines are suggested for teacher. First, decide what aspect of your teaching you are interested in learning more about or you wish to improve. Second, narrow your choice to those that seem most important to you. In order to make effective use of self-monitoring technique, it is necessary to focus on one area at a time. The third one, develop a plan of action to address the specific problem you have identified. The fourth one, draw up a time frame to carry out your goal. You might decide to give yourself a week or two to try out new approaches and then monitor yourself to discover the effectiveness of the strategies you have chosen. Decide on the self-monitoring procedure you will use. Check your self-report form or the recording of your lesson to see if you have been successful in modifying the behavior you wanted to change. Self-monitoring has too many useful applications in language teaching. The best way to determine whether the self-monitoring has anything to offer is to try it on a small scale, using the experience to assess its use on a more regular basis. It is vital for the teacher to examine himself in order to improve his practice as much as possible and do his best at the class. That's all my presentation about the material. Thanks for your attention. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.